So I'd like to just spend the first few minutes just talking about G8 Scientific. Then I'll introduce our speaker for today. And then she'll, of course, tell us a little bit about herself and then share with us what it is that she has. And then towards the end, we'll open it up for questions so that hopefully by the 1 hour time, we will be done in good fashion. So first, like I said, I'm Thomas Tego. I co-founded G8 Scientific. And G8 Scientific is really an organization that sort of focuses on building capacity in science, technology, engineering, and math. So those are the STEM spaces by doing a lot of public engagement and outreach activities. So we try and find ways to be able to take the science to everyone, like they say, democratize, make it easily available to everyone, to allow everyone to also engage with it and hopefully in the process, learn something new. So we run a lot of initiatives, both in Ghana and in the UK. And with this Black History Month, this is what we are doing, running some conversations. And one of it being this particular event to try and demystify, whilst at the same time sharing some truths around nutrition. So for that, we have Araba, who is also a certified nutritionist, has a PhD. So I'd like to just hand over to her and hopefully she can first introduce herself, tell us a little bit about herself, and then share with us what she has for today. So Araba, over to you, please.
To me. Thank you, Dr. Thomas. Yeah, so Araba Osei-Kwasi Hiba. And my background is in public health nutrition. So I did my PhD here in the UK on dietary behaviors of minority ethnic groups, and since then I've been really passionate about engaging the Black community in the UK, trying to talk about some of the problems we face, also trying to demystify some of the nutritional issues around and debunk misinformations, So I am a I'm a researcher, okay, but then I have also, together with colleagues, established a social enterprise. Actually, we're still in the process of establishing it, and what we seek to do with that is to provide nutrition support to Black people in the UK and beyond, people living with hypertension and other diet-related non-communicable diseases. We want to help them with their journeys back to health, provide them with ongoing support. And also for healthy people, we just want to support people to live healthy, just remind people about what we should be doing, things that I always say, it's not that we don't know, but we just need reminders, constant reminders on what we should be doing to prevent these diet-related diseases. So in brief, that's me. And Tom, I was supposed to speak for like 30 minutes and then have a question and answer session for 15 minutes. So it's not exactly 1 hour because I need to jump into another meeting. So hopefully we will do this in about 45 minutes. I hope people don't mind. Yes, and rather than do a lecture, I would want it to be a discussion. So yeah, I have some slides. I'm going to be sharing my screen. I'll be asking questions. I don't want it to be one way. I want to see, I want us to discuss the issues. What do people think? And then, it becomes more interesting, because one thing about Zoom is that it can easily get boring and people might sleep. I don't want anyone sleeping. I want people to take 1 or 2 things away after today's session. So please meet me halfway. You don't have to talk, but you can easily type. If I'm asking questions, kindly share your opinions and thoughts on the things we are going to talk about. Yeah, and I don't want to wait till the end before the questions come in. So if you have questions, please type it in as we go along. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, so yeah, I wasn't too sure how to caption my talk or discussion, so I just said nutrition, myths, and truths. However, can you see my screen, please?
Yes, we can see, please.
Okay, thank you. This is going to be the outline. So I'm just going to start with a brief introduction into why all the fuss about diet. Why do I do what I do? Why do others like me keep talking about dietary behaviors? we talk about some of the common mistakes we make, and then finally we end with some practical tips, that we should all take away with. Okay, so let me start with a brief overview of why I do what I do and why we are having this session. So this is an overview of the global nutrition challenges. Globally, I'm sure some of you might know, again, this is just a reminder to give us a background to our discussion today. So globally, and this is from, this says 2017, but actually the figures haven't changed much. About 2 billion people are living with overweight and obesity. That is one end of malnutrition. So when we talk about nutrition, when people don't have adequate nutrition, there are two forms of malnutrition that can occur. One end is called undernutrition, which is what most people are familiar with. And then the other end of nutrition problems is what we call overnutrition. Okay, so 2 billion people and overweight and obesity is one type of overnutrition. And 2 billion people currently live with overweight and obesity. And then the other form of malnutrition, we have about 41 million children. Well, this is still overweight. We have about 2 billion people who lack micronutrients like iron and vitamin A. So in all aspects of nutrition, the world is facing a grave nutritional problems. People are either underweight or overweight. In some circumstances, there are people who have both conditions. We call that the double burden of malnutrition. So in some households, you have the mothers being overweight or obese, you have the children suffering from micronutrient deficiencies. That is what we call double burden of malnutrition. Okay. Right, that was just to tell you what's happening globally. So it is a problem everywhere. Nutritional issues affect everyone in all countries. Now let's come to, I like to use examples from the UK because that's where my current research focuses. When you come to the UK, the problem is worse amongst, is worse among. Is there a question? Okay, when you come to the UK, the problem is worse among the Black minority ethnic population. So if you look at what I have here, you don't need to understand everything, but just look at the red bars. The highest is for Black Africans, and this is obesity prevalence for children. This is for children in the reception age. So if you come to the UK, you realize that children age 4 to 5 years have the highest prevalence. Black African children have the highest prevalence of about 16% as compared to the whites, the Asians, and the same with children in year 6, that is 10 to 11-year-olds. We BME group, and the trend it's similar, across the world. We tend to have the highest prevalence of overweight and obesity. Trying to tell you why I decided to focus my research on our own people. Okay, so yes, I'm talking about overweight and obesity. I didn't talk about hypertension. I didn't talk about all those other lifestyle conditions, but there's a lot of emphasis on diet. When we are talking about overweight and obesity, we are talking about hypertension, we are talking about cardiovascular diseases. Now, can anyone tell me why there's so much emphasis on diet when we are talking about these conditions? Any thoughts on why we seem to be focusing so much on diet? People can type in, why are we focusing on diet when we are talking about these conditions? Anyone? Yeah, I see something in the box. Let's see. You can't see my screen?
No.
Oh no. I didn't know that. Thank you for letting me know. I get this problem from time to time, and I'm doing it again. Does it mean you've not been seeing it from the start?
No, at the start we could see it, and then at some point when you start the
Went
graph.
away. Okay. I'll stop sharing and do it again. I get this problem from time to time. Please just keep drawing my attention. I don't know if it's my laptop. I just can't explain why. Can you see now?
Yes.
Yes, we can see.
Okay. So yeah, I asked the question. Let's see, did anyone answer? Any thoughts on why there's so much emphasis on diet when we are talking about these? What comes to mind? Why are we saying so much about asking people to change their dietary behaviors, and or if anyone wants to quickly unmute and say something. Anything? Are we saying we don't know why we should focus so much on diet? Yes.
Right. So there's some responses. I'm just gonna read out.
Please. Yes.
Right. So it says we focus on diet because we are what we eat.
Okay.
You are what you eat because
Okay.
it determines health.
Okay.
Because a healthy diet reduces risk of obesity.
Okay.
Which then reduces risk of diabetes and hypertension.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for those thoughts. Everything you've said is correct. And I'm just going to add one more thing and then we move on. So this analysis is done every year. So this particular one is risk factor contributions to death. Which year was it? This was for 2018, I think. So this was an analysis to show what were the risk factors that contribute to death globally. If you look at the risk factors here, if you look at this x-axis, look at the bar here, this is the number of deaths, millions of deaths, and these are the factors. Dietary risk factors was the leading factor that contributed to the highest burden of mortality. So if you look at this, you see about, it's between 10 and 12. So about 10 million deaths globally were all attributed to dietary factors. And when we say dietary factors, it's things to do with, like your low fruits and vegetables intake, high fat intake, too much meat, so this is the reason why consistently when this analysis is done, it always falls on dietary factors. There are so many other things, there's tobacco, there's air pollution, there's alcohol use, but dietary risk factors consistently has been the number one contributor to all the high burden of diseases, but also the higher burden of mortality, okay? So now let's go into the nitty-gritty. Again, this is not anything new. We all know this, but let's have a discussion about it. What do we mean by healthy eating? This is something we are taught in the basic school. What comes to mind? People on the call, when we say healthy eating, what comes to mind? What does healthy eating mean to people who are on the call?
Balanced diet.
Balanced diet, okay. Any more? When we say balanced diet, what do we mean?
The healthy eating plate, so mostly vegetables and then some protein and healthy carbs.
Okay, so mostly vegetables, some proteins and carbs, okay? Can someone read the chat, because I'm worried that if I go off this, then I'll stop sharing my screen.
That's fine. I got you covered.
Thank you,
so
Tom.
We have a high in fiber and a healthy proportion of all food groups. So that's from Anita and Tosin.
Okay. Healthy proportion.
Should we say or not? The timing of eating food, like the regular timing, it matters.
The timing matters. Yes, thank you. The timing definitely matters. Yes. Okay. So if we know all these, people are sharing their thoughts. People told me about the Eat Well, the Eat Well guide, I think I'm getting some feedback here. Okay. If you are not speaking, can we kindly mute ourselves? Thank you. So if we know all this, like what you've just told me, where do we go wrong is my question. Everyone knows that healthy eating has to do with, fruits and vegetables, the timing and all that. So what is the problem? And because we are talking about Black History Month, what is the problem with us Black people? Why
the problem is implementation, because we do not implement this knowledge we all are having. This is the problem, I think.
We do not implement this knowledge. So I want to focus the rest of the talk on specific mistakes. What are the things we are doing wrongly? We know all these things, we don't implement, but let's go into the specific things that we are not doing right. So do you want to share some of the stuff that we are doing wrong? Okay, I've just shown you one of them, but I want to hear people's thoughts. What is it that we do? Because we do know, let's talk about it and together find a way to to go back onto the right track? What is it that we don't do right? There's so many things that we don't do right in our homes. Some of them,
So Simon says that we often skip meals, especially breakfast. Phyllis says that we have more carbs than veg, and also too much oil. Yeah.
Good. Thank you for this.
And I would say the African person's food is very starchy foods. Simon says our physical activity is low. Phyllis thinks that it's a westernization of our African meals. And Walker thinks it's a poor portion control. Yeah.
Thank you. Portion control. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, so those points were all perfect. So I'm just going to touch on a few of them, and then we have a discussion on some of them. I didn't hear anyone talk about salt. So this morning I was on radio and I had a whole one session on just salt. So we're going to talk about, that's also one of the big mistakes we make. Do we know what the recommendation for salt is? How much salt are we supposed to have in a day? So that's one of the things that, one of the biggest nutritional problems that we have in our community. So I'm touching on just about 3 of the issues. What is the recommendation for a day? Tom, can you help me with what people are saying? How much salt are we supposed to have in a day?
Right. So before I jump, this looks like there was some other more interesting follow-ups.
Okay, please read them for us.
Yeah, Dorothea mentioned binge eating and no exercise.
Yes.
Phyllis said too much snacking.
Too much what?
Fulton blames our upbringing. Too much snacking. Fulton blamed our upbringing. Phyllis mentioned something interesting, that culturally we think hospitality means eating a lot of food. So hospitality is to blame. But regarding the salt intake, it's up to 6 grams that have been submitted by Anita and Phyllis.
I didn't hear what you said about the salt. What did you say about the salt, please?
6 grams and then 2 grams for children. So 6 grams per day, according to Anita and Phyllis. And Phyllis says 2 grams per children.
Perfect. So 6 grams is what we are supposed to have for adults, 7 years and above. For toddlers, 6 to 12 months is about 1 gram. For children, 1 to 3 years is 2 grams. For 4 to 6 years is 3 grams. So yeah, you are right about that. So we're supposed to have just about a teaspoon of salt maximum in a day. So why are we having excess salt intake then? Where is the salt coming from? Because this is what the research shows, that we are consuming. For the UK population, averagely people are having about 8 grams per day. But for us Black people, it's about 2 or 3 times the recommendation. Why are we having excess salt intake? What are your thoughts? Why do we consume so much? Where is it coming from?
The seasoning, Maggi cubes.
The Maggi cubes, yes. The seasoning, the Maggi cubes, yes. What else? Generally, even apart from the Black people, where do we get our salt from? Our daily intake of salt, apart from the seasoning and the salt we add to our foods, where do we get our salt from?
I think canned foods contain a lot of salt in it.
Which foods?
Canned
food.
Thank you. That's what I wanted you to mention. So the research evidence shows that about 75% of our daily salt intake comes from processed foods. Processed foods, from bread to cereals to all the tin foods. Okay, so even without us adding salt at home to our food, the cooking we are doing, we are already consuming a lot of salt, because we live in what we call the obesogenic environment. The environment is such that the foods have high amounts of salt and fat, because salt, it's not just about taste. Salt helps with the preservation of food. Salt gives food a good texture and all that, okay? So about 75% of the salt we take daily comes from processed food, and we do not have control over that. However, when you come to the Black community, again, the research shows that for us, it's not just the processed foods. We do additional adding when it comes to our seasoning. And do people on the call know what we call salted fish and salted meats? If you're from Ghana, you know what we call Kobe, tilapia. It's a delicacy. People have to have that in their sauces, the red stews. Okay, we have salted beef. People have to take that as well. So yes, the processed food, we have to deal with an obesogenic environment where everything we eat contains salt. Sometimes people think that you need to taste the salt to know that, you know, it's salty, but no, the bread, the breakfast cereals, the chocolates, the biscuits, all of those contain salt in very large amounts. You know, someone ever asked me that, so if I decide to stop adding salt to my food, would I, because you do need some sodium in your body, okay, would I get enough, you know, for the body's functioning? Oh yes, even if you don't add salt to it, you could actually even be exceeding the 6 grams that is recommended for us. So this is one of the reasons why we are consuming too much, because the foods we buy already, you know, contribute to about 75% of the salts that we consume. And for us Africans, we do additional adding by all the foods that we keep eating. I need to show you this. This study was conducted in London. So they randomly picked some restaurants in the UK and then analyzed the salt content in the foods. This is a popular West African food, so rice and beans. This plate, just this plate, contained 12 grams of salt. And we all just agreed on the fact that, you know, we know that it's about 6 grams that we are supposed to have in a day. Now, this is just one meal for lunch. The jollof rice contained about 8.6 grams. And people, most of us will have this for lunch and then have something like this for dinner. So already, how much are we having? 20 grams of salt. So do you see how, you know, we can easily go beyond? It's not easily, we are actually eating beyond what we should be having. And yes, you were right when you talked about the seasoning. Just 1 cube here contains about 5.4 grams of salt. Okay, so that's one of the issues that we need to really do something about, because this is what I call a silent killer. It's not like we don't know, but I don't know if, you know, people struggle. It's something we become used to, you know, so people struggle to cut down on their salt intake. Please ask me questions as you go along. Now let me go to the second thing I wanted to highlight. I don't think anyone mentioned sugar. You talked about a lot of the mistakes, but sugar is another thing that I also call a silent killer. And there's so many myths when it comes to sugar. I like to show this here because growing up, I was told that brown sugar was better than white sugar, and then honey was also better than sugar. There is no evidence to show that white or brown sugar is better than white sugar, or no, they are all chemically the same. When you come to the Black community, a lot of people replace honey they replace white sugar with honey. Yes, honey has some additional benefits, anti-inflammatory and all those benefits, but in terms of chemical structure, they are the same. You know, so I tend to tell people that do not say you're going to stop eating white sugar and then just keep taking honey because you think honey is healthier. It has some benefits, no two ways about it. But if you take it in excess, it's going to have the same impact white sugar would have on your health. Okay, that is another myth I need to emphasize, because the Black community, a lot of us, you know, tend to just eat honey anyhow because we think it's healthier. They have the same chemical structure. They are all eventually, you know, turn into glucose, and excess would give you the same impact white sugar would also give you. Now, whilst I'm talking about sugar, let me also talk about does anyone know what the recommendation is for sugar in the UK? Oh, well, globally, how much sugar? We knew that for salt. Do we know what the recommendation is for sugar? What's the maximum? I see some messages. Tom, can you read it to me, please?
Sure. So Walker says 5 grams. Tosin decided to multiply that and go for 25 grams.
So yeah, Tosin is close to the correct figure. So with yes,
Phyllis
yes,
is 37 grams.
how many?
37.
So it's about, for adults, it's about 30 grams. It's about seven cubes, seven cubes of sugar. I don't want to quote anything wrong. Let's see if there's any of my colleagues here. It's about 7 cubes of sugar that we are supposed to have, a maximum amount of sugar that we are allowed to have in a day. Now, having said that, let me also talk about what we mean by free sugar. So here, well, everywhere, what we need to be careful about is what we describe as free sugars, okay? Because as you know, fruits and vegetables contain sugar. Lots of the fruits we eat contain sugar, but the recommendation has to do with free sugars. Now, free sugars refer to the sugar we use at home. So, this one, the white sugar, the sugar, honey, all the sugars that are found in the processed foods, so the biscuits, the cakes, and all that, but also the sugar that is found in fruit juice. This is another thing I wanted to touch on, okay? Because sometimes people tend to think that, it's okay to drink so much. People think they're having a healthier lifestyle, and then they go on drinking and blending fruits and vegetables and drinking 3-4 glasses in a day. That is here, the recommendation is limit that to 1 glass a day, which is about 150 mils of fruit juice. Because once you blend fruits and vegetables, the
from there.
sugar in there is now described as, free sugars. Okay, so in terms of sugar, what you should remember is that free sugars are not supposed to be taken in excess. Fruits and vegetables in their whole forms contain sugar, but we don't worry so much about the sugar in fruits and vegetables as long as you are taking it as a whole fruit. Okay, because that has additional benefits. Fruits and vegetables contain all these vitamins and antioxidants. And so if you need to eat fruits and vegetables, eat them in whole. Okay, if you have to blend it, smoothies and all those things, limit it to 1 glass. That is because I'm touching on some of the mistakes we make. Okay, limit it to 1 glass, because when you blend the fruits, it is not the same as you taking in the whole fruits and vegetables. Okay, and one of the reasons why we are consuming excess sugar is also just like the salt. A lot of our products, or a lot of the processed foods, contain sugar that is hidden. In fact, some of the so-called healthy foods, so all these yogurts, so we don't also worry about the sugar in milk, okay, and in yogurts, but for flavored yogurts and other foods like that, there's additional sugar that is added, so all those flavorings, so you might not necessarily taste the sugar, but you find it like in sauces, ketchup, mayonnaise, all those things have additional sugars or have free sugars that when you take in excess will go beyond what you are required to have in a day. Okay. Right. Still talking about some of the mistakes we make. What do people think about these 2 plates? Which of these would you describe? Which of these 2 is a healthier one, or what are your thoughts on these 2?
Sorry, before you
Yes.
you jump on there, there's a question.
Yes, please.
So Vincent wants to know, please, what accounts for the difference between the blended fruits and veg and taking them as a whole?
Yes. So yeah, that's a question I get very often. So first of all, when this is not even scientific, but usually when you blend the sugar, when you blend the fruits, your tendency to drink, 2 or 3 glasses is more than when you're eating fruits, you're eating oranges or bananas, you might just eat 1 or 2 at a go. But when you blend it, you tend to now consume more than you would have taken if it was a whole fruit. And the research shows that, the sugar in the whole fruit, we have very little evidence to associate that sugar that is found in the whole foods with these lifestyle conditions that we talk about, so all these type 2 diabetes and all these lifestyle conditions. But then there's some evidence to show that once the sugars have left, when you blend it and it's kind of exposed from the cell structures, it predisposes you to, it makes your risk to those conditions higher. Okay, when it's in the cell structure and it's not blended, it's intact. And so, it's okay. And once it's blended, first of all, you tend to drink so much of that. And then so you're consuming more sugar. Okay, so at the go, you could be taking 3 or 4 fruits as opposed to just 1 or 2 at a go. And then secondly, one other reason why we encourage a lot of fruit is because of the fiber content. Okay, the important role fiber plays in the body. But once you blend it, you kind of change that structure a bit. You don't get that fullness, so the fiber has been broken down. And it is not the same. It is just not the same. You might also lose some of those very delicate nutrients in there. Fruits contain so many things, antioxidants, phytochemicals, so many things. And once you blend it, it is not the same. It is not the same. Okay, so yes.
Tommy wants to know that, does this mean that drinking smoothies twice a day is bad?
So we don't say it's bad, but we say try and make it once a day. Try and make it once a day, okay? Because that for the UK, because whatever I say, I use the evidence here in the UK because this is where I am. In the UK, once it's blended, that sugar because all fruits and vegetables contain sugar, okay? But like I said, we don't worry about the sugar in it once it's in the whole is in the whole fruit. But once it's blended, here in the UK, the sugar now is considered as free sugars. It is described, the sugar found in there is classified together with the sugars that are found in honey and the normal table sugars that we have. So for the UK, the government recommendation is your maximum amount of fruit juice, unsweetened one, the one you've blended, should be 150 mils in a day. That is a recommendation for people in the UK.
Okay, thank you.
We don't want you to, sorry.
No, I was going to say there was a comment to sort of support what you were saying, where Gideon is saying that blending can denature some of the nutrients, and that may contribute to it. And then, okay, there's a question. Is there any evidence suggesting the influence of water on the fruits and vegetables when you blend them together?
So the evidence is not really about the water, because if it comes to water is still a good thing. We encourage people to drink about 6 to 8 glasses of water, and then the water from fruit juices, coffee and tea, all counts as fluid intake. So no, it's not really about the water. It's about the nutrients, not the denaturing of the nutrients, as someone mentioning, the fact that the fiber is somehow changed a bit. And the fact that there's a tendency for you to just keep drinking. If people are thirsty and they don't go in for water and they go for fruit juices, before you know it, you would have already drank like 3 glasses of fruit juices. And, so these are some of the reasons. It's not the water. It has to do with these other stuff that I'm talking about. You want to get all the nutrients in fruits and vegetables, okay? So processing anything doesn't make it the same. Anything at all, processing, and I don't mean processing it in the factory. Anything that you do at home, you even when it comes to cooking, when I'm talking about my final tips, we cook a lot. We tend to stew and cook our foods for hours. Sometimes it's important that we just eat the fruits raw. Of course, you can't eat yam raw, you can't eat plantain raw, but when it comes to vegetables, let's sometimes eat the food, someone calls it, when it's alive. It's not everything that we need to process, because there's some nutrients that are really, really very sensitive and delicate, that a little bit of processing will make you lose some of the nutrients. So it's more in line of you losing certain types of nutrients rather than the water that is added to it. I hope I answered the question. Now let's talk about this, what you are seeing here. What do people think about these two plates of dishes?
So a lot of the responses were saying, for a starter, neither of them look too healthy. But if you were to
Thank you for
choose,
that. Yes.
you take the one on the right because the one on the left has way too much oil
Thank you very much.
on it.
Thank you very much.
Although some went for the one on the left because it has some eggs at least. But the general consensus seems to be, for a start, none of them are particularly very healthy.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's what I wanted to hear. Thanks for that. Okay, so someone said that, yeah, they said none of them, but did they give their reasons? I've forgotten. So someone said too much oil. So thank you for that. Anything else? Why would we say that these are not healthy plates? What else is wrong with these two plates, apart from the oil that someone has already mentioned?
Phyllis says there's no vegetables.
There's no vegetables. Okay, so this one is made of
there's too much protein.
There's too much protein. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. So for people who might not know this actually is made of it's a Ghanaian food, and there are vegetables in here. So this is usually made from eggplants, what we call garden eggs. But at the end of the day, yes, someone already mentioned this. There's too much palm oil, coconut oil. All these oils are what we contain, what we call saturated fats. And you don't want to have excess saturated fats in your meals, okay? So yes, this has too much oil in here. Now let's talk about this one. This is also one of the popular Ghanaian dishes. So this is fufu with lots of meat. So if people are saying it has a lot of protein, can anyone tell me how much protein we are expected to have in a day? What is the recommendation? How much protein should we have in a day?
Isaac is guessing 100 grams.
Okay. Yeah. Anyone else?
60 grams.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the weight.
It depends on the weight, but there's always, an average recommendation out there. Definitely depends on people's weights and heights. That's very true. Yeah.
Simon says 0.8 times grams your body weight.
Okay.
Jules says 40 grams. And
Okay.
Precious says it's dependent on your body weight.
It is dependent. I agree with all of you. It is dependent on your body weight, but there is always a recommendation out there. Okay.
Like 40 to 60 grams?
Sorry?
So maybe like 40 to 60 grams.
Okay, let me just show you my next slide. So where's the protein? It is, so someone said 60 and someone said 100. It is averagely like 70 grams, usually for women, and 90 grams for men. But yes, it depends on your body weight and level of physical activity and so on and so forth. But just to demonstrate that, usually we use our palm and we say that, if it's like a steak, it should just be, so depending on your body size, it's the size of, your palm, just the size, and the thickness should be like that. That is if you are visualizing something like a steak. But otherwise, in terms of weight, it's about 70 to 90 grams a day. Okay. But most Black people, especially, so I'm sure people on the call are all over the world, but people in the UK, because my research is based on the Black people in the UK, because most people would have moved from, countries where fish was so expensive. When they come to a place like the UK, where food is very cheap, you find people eating lots of meat, they just eat it in excess because of where they are coming from. And this is not helpful for the body. In terms of staples, again, just using my hands to demonstrate, this is about how much, averagely, how much of a staple you should have in a day. If it's your banku, your fufu, it should be about the size of your fist. Okay.
More than the size of our fists.
Pardon? Sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay, so we were just looking at some of the mistakes we make And those are some of the things I wanted to highlight. So these 2 plates, which is something, you know, commonly seen amongst a lot of Black people, are definitely not what we should be doing. Not what we should be doing. Most people, so we have people who are eating, you know, too much meat, and then we have people who are also eating, you know, for people in a lower socioeconomic homes, you know, you have them having about 3/4 of their plate being the starchy staple. So whether it's rice or it's your fufu or it's your whatever, ugali, with just a bit of vegetables on the side, and then some small stew. Okay, so these are a few of their mistakes I wanted to highlight. Can we have some questions, because I think I have some few minutes left before I give you my practical tips. Any questions on what we've spoken about so far before?
Well, when we talk about recommendations and all, and we say that this much grams of protein, this much gram of carbs, what are the actually practical basis? Like how, like there, of course, there are staple foods and they vary from culture to culture. And mostly they are like starchy potatoes, and sometimes they are cereals, the chapatis and all. So
Yeah.
how can these all recommendations can be put to practical basis as a staple food or something like that?
So it's because of that can we mute ourselves? It's because of that I don't know if you are in the UK, that, you know, we are establishing what we call the Sahara Nutrition, which is a social enterprise, because in the UK, for instance, the dietary guidelines is not tailored to the average Black person. It's tailored to the majority. Okay, so that is the job for the nutritionists, the nutrition professionals we have, because all the dietary guidelines are based on research evidence. We do know that if you eat this amount, or if you eat beyond this amount or quantity, you increase your risk to conditions A, B, and C. So this is what our jobs are. And wherever you are, I don't know where you live, there should be some dietary guidelines to contextualize, you know, to make it fit, you know, the common foods you eat. This is what myself and my team are doing here. We look at the Eat Well guide. They don't have examples for yam and for plantain and all that. So we now want to come up with something to guide the Black people that, okay, in the UK, this is how much of the carbs you should have, because the principles, you know, apply everywhere, irrespective of where you are. The only thing is that we eat different foods. Okay, so if it's 70 grams of meat or proteins, it is 70 grams of proteins. But it's just that we need to find what common foods you eat wherever you are and tailor the advice to you. So that's what we're doing. A lot of people within my community have foods like, you know, banku, kenke, eba, and all that. That theory applies, that it has to be about that. Whatever weight it is, it has to be about that. You just weigh it, and then that is what we use. So everything has to be tailored to where you are coming from, where you live, and then the kinds of foods you have. Okay, I know, I recognize that some countries in Africa don't have dietary guidelines. A lot of countries, I know Ghana is in the process of doing it, because I worked on a project in Ghana and that's what we were doing. But a lot of African countries don't have it. And, you know, that's something that needs to be done everywhere you are, so that it becomes practical for people to be able to use it. Okay.
So there are 3 questions. I think I'll just read the 3 to you. Hopefully you can answer them. The first one is from Gideon. Gideon wants to know that from your research, what's the most fascinating nutrition myth you sort of uncovered? Olayinka wants to know, is there anything like having too much vegetable intake, and how much vegetables are we allowed in a day? And lastly, Isaac wants to know, do vegetable oils contain cholesterol?
Right. So let me start with what was the second one? Wanted to touch on. Is there anything like too much?
Too much vegetables.
Yes. There definitely is something like too much fruit intake, too much vegetable intake. When it comes to foods, okay, we always say eat everything in moderation. Okay, so yes, in the UK we say eat your 5 a day. if you take 10, 15 fruits and vegetables a day, that is not healthy for you. You know, there is definitely something like too. First of all, you need a bit of, you need your carbohydrates, you need your fats and oil, you need everything, even though oil is bad. You need a bit of oil because oil helps with the absorption of your vitamin A, D, and ADEK, you know, vitamin A, D, E,
I have to tell you.
K. So yes, if you tend to, and that's why I tend to tell people, do not replace your meals. Don't have one big bowl of fruits as your main meal. No, it's not helpful because you need a bit of everything. You need your carbs, you need your proteins, you need your fats and oil. You know, so what you do by eating lots of fruits and vegetables or whatever fruits is that you are not giving your body the chance, or you get too full and you cannot eat your carbohydrates, and you do need your energy. You cannot eat your whatever else you need. Okay, so do not in a bit to eat healthy, stop eating everything else and just eat fruits, because there is definitely something like too much fruits. Okay, yeah, that is about it. For cholesterol, the main sources of cholesterol is, you know, it's usually from your animal products, animal and dairy products. So for people who have high cholesterol, we advise them to cut down on those animal products, your animal and milk products, okay, and then focus more on your whole fruits and vegetables. It's mainly, however, there's also evidence to show that the way we cook, so even if you're using vegetable oils, the way if you overcook the vegetable oil and all that, somehow that can also contribute to your bad cholesterol level. But the main source of cholesterol is from animal products and dairy products. Now, that thing about nutrition myths. So my own research, to be honest, did not necessarily focus on the myths. The myths are just after I finished my PhD, you know, just talking to people and the questions that I get. But one thing that I gathered from my research is that a lot of people feel like the African food is healthier generally. You know, they think that they compared our African meal to foods that are found here in the UK, and most people were like, African foods are healthier than the foods we find here. I beg to differ, because I feel like it is not about, you know, it's the way you eat it, it's the way you come. Like what I showed you, I was happy that we all agreed that those 2 plates were on healthy foods. Okay, so it's the way you cook your food, the way you serve your food, the portion sizes that determines whether something is healthy or unhealthy, and not just because we have this mentality that westernized foods is unhealthy and traditional foods are healthier. No, our traditional foods, it depends on how we combine it. Like what I showed you, if you put too much oil on it, if you cook foods like the way we cook our foods for 2-3 hours, you end up just eating with no nutrients. Okay, so that was one of the main findings from my research. You know, the fact that people think everything African is healthy and everything westernized is unhealthy. As for the myths, it's their stuff that are found everywhere. You know, I hear people talk about it. Like during the coronavirus, people were all saying just, you know, it's, you know, I said we did this video when people were saying just eat ginger, eat garlic and all that. You know, I always tell people that yes, those things are good, okay, but all those concoctions that we drink, we don't have any evidence to back those, that if you drink, you know, just chew garlic, by all means use your garlic for your cooking, but we don't have the research evidence there, scientific evidence that if you chew garlic or you eat ginger or that, then you are protecting yourself from the coronavirus or any other disease for that matter. And this is something that we have in our community. Someone just feels better after chewing some garlic, and then, you know, it becomes something that everyone else is doing. That's okay. Oh, if you do this, you. So there are lots of those myths out there that, you know, we are trying to debunk. You know, from time to time, we come out with some videos to say, no, we don't have the evidence yet. Who knows, tomorrow things might change. But here at us at now, we don't have evidence for some of those things that are going on. Okay, now I really need to get ready for my next meeting. So I'll just try, unless there's any burning question, I'll just
well, I think there's one last question that maybe
please.
you could squeeze in,
Okay.
which is Dorothea wanted to know your take on the ketogenic and low carb diets for weight loss.
So there is a lot of evidence, you know. In fact, there's what's the name? The ketogenic diet. If you ask me whether it works or not, I'll tell you yes, it works. It does work. it does work, okay? If you go on to that diet, within few days, I started it, within 3 days, I saw some, but nobody told me to stop. If you want, for us as nutritionists, we want people to eat healthy as a lifestyle. So we don't encourage people going in for something that works for a week or two, something that is not sustainable. It would work. Yes, you will lose the weight, but a lot of people who lose weight through those processes, just like any other diet or any other thing on the market, you gain it back so fast, because the same way you lose it, you gain it back so fast. So we rather encourage people to use a healthier approach, healthier way to lose weight. Let it become part of your lifestyle. Aim for 1 kilo a month, a slow way of losing weight, rather than something that will just make you lose 5 kilos or 10 kilos within a month. And then after 3-4 months, you go back to what you were, or even worse than before. Okay, so if we want to live healthier life, let's follow the guidelines. In the UK, the Eat Well guide, try and do your 5 a days. If you are not already doing it, just review what, I'm just going back to my conclusion now, review your dietary behaviors, try and for a week, record whatever you are eating. You would realize that most of us eat monotonous diets. We don't have any diversity in what we eat. We are eating the same thing, rice. If it's yam, it's just yam. And that doesn't help us, because God knows why he provided us with all these fruits that we have around, okay? Let me give you an example with fruits. Banana will give you potassium, oranges will give you vitamin C. So if you decide to just have oranges as your fruits, you will not be getting your potassium. And you need all these nutrients combined to have a healthy body, healthy mind, healthy soul, and everything. Okay, so what I would say is that look at what you are having at the moment. This is just practical stuff we should do. If you go home, just record your foods and then try and add one thing to your dietary behaviors. If you are eating 2 fruits in a day, try and add 1 to it. If you're having 3 glasses of water in a day, you do know that you're supposed to have 6 to 8 glasses of water in a day. Add 1, slowly, and then, gradually you can add 1 to it. Everyone's journey is different. Do not look at what someone else is doing, because depending on your body size, your level of physical activity, your nutrient requirements might differ from mine. Some people live with chronic conditions, and so they have diets that are suited to their conditions. Your journey is different. Okay, if you understand the Eat Well guide, look at what works for you. There are so many vegetables around, there are so many staples around. Look for what you enjoy, and then try and follow the guidelines. I always say that find your healthy eating style. It might differ from someone else's own. And some of the little things we can do is like, rather than have that layer of oil, this I like to show this. This was someone, a nanny of mine, I had prepared this for me. I traveled, I came back, and she had used about 1 liter of oil to prepare food for me. This is common in a lot of in our homes. Okay, ideally this is what we should be having, but knowing the community we come from, you prepare this for someone, they would probably tell you don't know how to cook. Okay, they always have to see a layer of oil on it. But what we need the oil for is just to grease the pan. You just need a bit of oil to help with your absorption, of the vitamins in your body. Okay. And finally, yes, we always make a lot of noise about healthy eating, but it needs to be a holistic approach. It's not just healthy eating. You need to exercise as well. Someone already mentioned that exercise doesn't mean going to the gym. You can just take some walks every day, walk to, or if you're not driving, when you're almost at your house, you get down 1 or 2 stops before your house, you take a walk. I already talked about water. Water is healthy. Sleep. I can't overemphasize this enough, because I always like to make reference to the Black people here in the UK. We work 2-3 jobs because we have lots of responsibilities, and we do not sleep enough. If you eat healthy, you exercise, you take a lot of water, you do not rest enough, you don't sleep, you're not doing yourself any good. You need to combine all these, do this all together, and everything would contribute to you having a healthier life, preventing diseases, lifestyle diseases, and many more. My last words is a quote I like to use: the time for us to invest in our nutrition is now. We already know all the stuff that I spoke about, but we don't tend to really put it into action. After what happened with COVID-19, we all know the importance of making sure that we are in a good nutritional status. Okay, so let us try and invest. Investment is not just, buying expensive stuff. Okay, spending time to prepare foods ahead of time, thinking about what we eat, all that is investing in our nutrition. So thank you for listening. I'll still take one more question and before I leave.
Brilliant. Thank you. This is how we know you really love what you do. You've pushed it to the last minute.
I know.
Thank you so much for that. So there actually was one last question just waiting for you. Is lemon water good for the body system? Meaning like adding lemon to your water in every glass of water you take.
So lemon, yes, lemon contains vitamin C and all that. But I don't know of the evidence to show that if you add lemon to water, it has any benefit. What I do know is that, like when you're eating iron-rich foods, okay, if you eat it with vitamin C, it enhances the absorption. So orange, lime, and all that. If you eat it with your iron, if you're eating beans or meat and all that, it would enhance its absorption. That I know. So that is not just for lemon. It is for anything that contains vitamin C. But for water and lemon alone, I don't know of any research that shows that it has. If it's there, then I'm not aware of it. Okay, so I don't encourage people to do that. I just say drink water. I don't know of the evidence to show that if you keep drinking water and lemon, it has any particular effect. But I've told you that vitamin C is important for the body. So it's not just lemon. Anything that contains vitamin C is very useful for the body. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yes. Okay. I'm going to run late to my meeting, but
thank you very much.
No problem.
I just joined.
Okay.
And on our platform, they said the time is 4 p.m.
Oh.
And I just joined, and the meeting is about to end. So I was like, what is happening here? So where can we get the video? If there's any YouTube channel, because this is not fair.
I know, we are so sorry. So it was 4 p.m. UK time, but I think it was supposed to be 3 p.m. Ghana time. Tom, we're going to make it available for everyone when it's ready. So Tom would handle that.
Yes, it will. So it will be up on YouTube. If you just look for the YouTube channel I'm about to put down there. Alternatively, if you want me to directly send it to you as well, please just drop your emails in the chat and I'll make sure that these recordings get to anyone who drops me their email. I'd like to say a big thank you to Araba. I mean, yeah, you've really done this great today, and your love for what you do, it's appreciated and clear to see. So thank you so much. I'm going to leave the call open just a little bit longer so that anyone who needs to leave additional questions and their emails and so can do that in the chat. But Araba, thank you for spending your afternoon.
No worries, Tom. I'm sorry I have to run away, but please, if there are any more questions, kindly direct them to me because, I do these things. Send your questions. I'm going to answer them, through my videos. Just send anything you want me to talk about and I'll do some videos and answer them. Yeah, thank you. And I hope you found it useful. Bye-bye. I hope to do this again another time. Yeah?
Sure.
Bye.
Sure.